Morning traders, we got good news. Our account is back at overall maximum P&L by staying true to my frontside breakout scalping strategy where I'm following the trend. I was able to really reel it in a nice solid green day. I'll show you guys the statistics and all that fun stuff later, but first let's just dive right into the chart so I can show you guys more about how I stay true to my strategy today on these tickers. So there was a lot of noise today out there. There's a lot of tickers that you would have maybe wanted to trade, so I had to really restrict myself, and I did that by taking a lot of naps. And then I came back, and every time I saw my ticker moving, because the scanner was making noise, I started trading again, and I did it pretty much in short little sprints. We started off with BTTX, that's the ticker I did the best on, and then PHGE popped up. I traded a bit more of that, and then right at the end I traded TBLT just for a little bit more profits, all of which I could have done much better on. But you know, for the fact that it's summer, I'm sizing down, and I did end up stopping a little bit early, and I didn't even trade after the market opened. It's actually not that bad of a day. So the focus today is not so much about the ticker, but exactly my entries and exits. So let's just start with BTTX, the ticker I'm up on the most. And you'll actually see in my stats later that I gave back quite a bit of profits today as well. I had a few trades that was, you know, one step forward, one step back, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes. On the daily, nice high relative volume, but this ticker's been selling off ever since the open. You can really see that well on the 5-minute chart, so that's not so interesting. What really is the interesting part here is this clean front side move that we had around from, let's see, 7:30 all the way to like 8 o'clock. We had one little pop at 8:15. So these runs usually last between 30 and 45 minutes. I've noticed I like to trade as aggressive as I can. And once I really notice there's a lot of sell volume coming in this case, not so much, but over here, you'll notice the sell volume coming in pre-market. That's usually when I stop a ticker or when I can't get to a new high. And starts kind of ranging. Those are all moments where I just start, you know, throwing in the towel. It's no longer on a nice front side or a trending front side move, and I don't want to trade anything that's ranging or backside. No, sir. Sometimes it works, and like 2 years ago, backside was my best strategy, but I have really dialed in on front side trading, and that's where I can make the most money, and that's where I have the best risk reward. So that's where I want to put all my energy into, so I'm not distracted from everything else. And let's actually scroll all the way back and see it one ticker at a time. So this ticker, BTTX, popped up. It was 7:30 a.m. So I've already been looking at the market for about 30 minutes. Now I'm not trading it yet. It's only popped up 15%. It probably just popped onto my scanner. But this 10,000 shares being traded per minute is really uninteresting. So let's see how it continues. Even less volume and a shooting star candle. So that's not really nice. Bit of a bearish sign. But then it actually instantly recovers and shoots up again, but still low volume. So notice how I'm not trading this one at all at this point. Now, it starts at this candle, it starts getting interesting. And I remember seeing this one, 40,000 shares being traded. At this point, I'm like, okay, volume is going up pretty drastically. I want to keep an eye on this one because it could start picking up speed quick. And at this point, I already noticed we have resistance at around 230. So we have good room to run if we break $2. Then we have even more resistance at around 3, or the next level of resistance at 3. So I was like, there's good room to run on BTTX. Let's go. And usually I'm always looking for at least 100,000 shares being traded per 1 minute, especially on like a $2 stock. Really, I want to see more like 200-300 shares being traded per minute. Again, my checklist, you guys know where to find it, tradejournal.co/start. So at this point, I actually trade the first pullback here, 3,000 shares, nothing too crazy, $6,000 position size, so maybe a little bit more aggressive than I should be. This is about an average size though. Now, believe it or not, I actually lose profits on this trade, which is kind of annoying. I just sold off a little bit more aggressive than I thought, and when it bounced back, I just closed it, looking for maybe a re-entry closer to 1.8. Unfortunately, look at this. It just rips up. So this could have been a huge 20% winner if I just held that. So that would have been a one right there the whole day. But that's fine. I ended up buying this one on the breakout and actually made a nice little tidy profit on that. Again, keeps running. I just start trading this one actively. I'm just scalping, taking, you know, buying near the high, selling higher. When you're doing front side trading, you want to be basically buying high with the intent of selling higher. And that is why a slow market like we are in are very, very tricky. And why usually I'm a little bit more risk averse at this point, and I'm not averaging into winners, because if I was averaging into this ticker, this time it would have worked, but a lot of times these in the summer, it'll just flush right back down, and then averaging into winners is just really dangerous. So you want to kind of size up quickly, or just get your full size right away and then take profits a little quicker, as opposed to, let's say, Q1, Q4, where the market's a little bit more hot, and maybe in an overall bull market, that's where you could really start, you know, sizing in, adding into your winners again and again and again, and get those really big winners. In the summertime, especially in the bear market, no way that I'm doing that, and I've had a lot of red days because every time I do that, because that's like the normal way of I should be thinking, I end up tripping over myself. Now BTTX comes down here and I basically just keep trading it. Here's a little bit of an extended pullback. I'm trading all these pops. I'm looking for that quick pop up, but none of them are happening. So I'm cutting my losses really quickly. And you guys will see my stats in a little bit that my risk reward was positive today, which basically means as soon as the trade's not working out, I'm just cutting my losses and getting out. I'm not sizing down into a trade. You got to be careful about that. Technically, it would have worked here, but there's so many times it'll just totally throw you off and probably make you hit your max loss. You don't want that. Risk management is always number one, not making money. Making money will just naturally come as a byproduct of risk management. So BTTX, let's keep going here. Boom, big pop here, and I was chasing this one into the breakout, and I sold right away. Then I think I bought this one again pretty soon after, and then I just actively am trading this one in this area, and I'm always keeping an eye on the 5 minute. Once the 5 minute gets a little extended here, and what I mean by that is a little bit far away from the 9 EVA, that's usually a time to maybe watch out a little bit. At this point, it didn't even have a really good pullback yet, so here was a really good time to watch out. This was at like 7:45, so this was at this area. So buying high into this move would have been very, very risky because the 5 minute isn't even pulling back at this point yet. So just want to be careful about that. You always want to keep an eye out for an overall good 5 minute setup where it's not too extended from VWAP or the 9 EMA, and then you're looking for those good 1 minute entries and exits. Here, for example, was another decent setup where we had a solid little breakout here, and then we were pulling back, and we were right around this zone at like 250. That's a psychological, really important support zone. So that's why I ended up doing quite aggressive scalping right here in this area, looking for that last little bounce, which we got, but it was short-lived, and then volume started fading a little bit, and that's why I became kind of uninterested in this ticker, and it's been fading off ever since. That's basically how I went about BTTX. I was more in the flow on BTTX than any other ticker today, but it's a kind of unfortunate that it didn't run all the way to $3. I feel like I could have really started making a lot of money in this area because I missed some really good moves early on. And I just kind of overthought it maybe a little bit too much. But a ticker early on like this, it's so hard to say. And oftentimes you get a quick pop and then it just fades. So I'd rather just manage my risk a little bit better. I feel like that's usually the way to go. What really helps with this strategy is having your hotkey set up. So if you want to learn more about how I have my hotkey set up on TOS, check out the video I came out with yesterday because that's a really important part to this strategy. Now, PHGE was the next ticker to pop up. This ticker had a pretty short-lived life today as well. And I was churning shares the whole time. I just had one step forward, one step back on this one specifically, way more than BTTX, and kind of similar to TBLT. So let's go to PHGE and see how I traded this one. On the daily, high relative volume, but it's been selling off ever since the market opened. So it was a classic gap and go, but it didn't hold its highs and have that continuation. You can see right here at the market open, that was a bit of a fail. And then pre-market, it's a little bit more of a choppy one. So that's probably why I wasn't in a super good flow on PHGE. Now, I did only trade it right around the market open at 7 a.m. That was right around here. So it pops up, volume instantly goes over 100,000 shares, by the second candle at least. And that's why I started trading this one. What I liked on it was this aggressive 5 minute breakout, and we still had room to run here at like 1.5. And that's why I was really edging into this pullback, looking for that pop. I did have a few trades here where I gave back profits, and we just constantly got wicked back down. So I felt like, ooh, there's a lot of sellers in this ticker, and that's why I didn't trade this pullback anymore. I just felt like this run already failed, and I wasn't trying to stick around. Maybe I could have done this one more time. One of the key parts about trend following is not trying to predict what's going to happen with the price, but just doing or riding the price, riding the trend as long as possible until the trend proves it's no longer on a trend. I've kind of a hard time doing that, and what I like to do is maybe scale down my size when I start thinking the trend's over. But you'll see here with the next ticker that sometimes you don't want to do that, and you just kind of want to ride it as much as possible. So TBLT is the last ticker I traded, only up 130 on this one. I was actually down on this one for a little bit as well. Daily chart here, it was a recent runner, and then it's been pulling back, and today it kind of feels like a bit of a dead cat bounce. On the 5 minute, it's a little bit more clean in this area, but after the market open, quick little spike, it's been selling off. So let's zoom out, and then boom, here's the 1 minute, nicely centered, and this one popped up pretty quick around 8:30, and I actually did not trade it because I was away from the computer at this point, which is fine. Sometimes you just kind of miss these things. You can't catch them all. It was up instantly, like over 100,000 shares being traded, and that's actually pretty nice because this is more of a $5 stock. So relative to BTTX, which was closer to a $2 stock, that basically means this ticker had about twice as much dollar volume being traded. So as this ticker was running up, again, I missed it, but I eventually, caught wind of it and came back to the computer, and I traded it in this first pullback right here where I actually had a little bit of a loss until it corrected. Then I jumped back on it and had a little bit of a profit. And then again, in this area, I actually ended up stopping out just to end up getting back in it right here, but then closing before it has that continuation. So this is basically where I'm just churning shares and I don't really get any good win. Probably a little bit of FOMO because I missed this move right here. Sometimes that happens, but the 5-minute setup was good. So we're having that nice 5-minute pullback, getting more settled close to VWAP. We're not as extended anymore. But if we zoom in here to the volume a little bit more, you'll see we had a big red volume candle, and that's usually a big warning sign. So I think that threw me off a little bit when it comes to this pullback here. Although I gotta say, this was a pretty nice move, and it was like an 8% move too, and I really should have slayed this one a lot more. I could have been trading it this whole entire way up. Then we start ranging on this ticker. I don't like when these tickers are ranging. You could trade the range, but I feel like it's so easy to trip over yourself, and sometimes you get just stuck in a nasty flush. So overall, it's a negative risk-reward strategy, and I don't love it. But now, eventually, look at this, 569. You could see it on the 1 minute, and then also down here, right around that 569 zone, we had a nice breakout. So right here, we had that breakout, and I should have been trading this one. I should have jumped right back on it, and then we had the market open. I should have jumped on this candle. We even had a classic 5-minute breakout, 1-minute pullback, and I missed this whole entire move. So I definitely snoozed in this area, and this is when you kind of start overthinking things a little bit. I was maybe too focused on not giving back profits at this point. Something that's good to do when you're thinking about giving back profits is just using smaller share size. That's usually a good way to go about it because then you keep getting practice and experience, but you're not risking too much profit. Eventually, in this big pullback here, this is pretty much when I called it. So I called it a little bit earlier today, and I kept watching the market, but I didn't actually keep on trading. I just didn't like the overall action I was seeing. And basically, our 3 top tickers, BTTX, PHGE, and TBLT, all were selling off at this point, and I was like, that's usually not a great sign, so I'm going to go ahead and call it here. So here's my portfolio. We're back over $120,000. We're well on our way to that $150,000 mark. And if we just see our overall stats, we got 7,000 documented trades. And look at this, I gave back over $250,000. That's actually pretty crazy. Most of my focus right now is improving that risk reward. It's gonna really help me scale my average position cost over $10,000 because once I get this a little bit closer to 1-to-1, I'll feel more confident and I'll be better at cutting my losses and letting my winners run. That's a really big thing that I'm struggling with right now. I mean, I'm overall profitable, so I'm not bad, but I have a lot more to improve here on the risk reward. I think that's gonna make the biggest ratio, but I think that might come as a consequence a little bit to my overall total winners, which I'm totally fine with. In terms of my stats for today, you can see they're a little bit better with the risk reward. This is where this is basically double, and that's really, really good. A 1-to-2 risk reward ratio, actually even better. Percentage wise, the dollar wise, not so much. This is closer to 1-to-1, but then you can see the total winner ratio kind of died down a little bit, and that's because I'm cutting my losses really, really quickly, and I'm not averaging down into losers as much. Sometimes I still do it, but just basically, if it doesn't work out, I get out, and then if it does end up working out, I can always go get back in. That's basically where the logic has shifted a little bit. And the profit margin today was about twice as much as usual, so that's really good to see. And even largest winning trade much bigger than the largest losing trade, so I love that. Near the end of the day, I did have some a little bit bigger trades, $16,000. But in the beginning of the day, I did trade much smaller size, and there's 2 pages here. So I had like 37 trades today, kind of a little bit more on the high end for sure. Let me show you guys my running P&L really fast here so you can see how I went about trading today. The last 3 days were pretty smooth for me, and today, once I got to like 960 or so, I just had a lot of fumbles where I was giving back profits or so, and then I was trading TBLT right here in this area, and it was really scratchy with TBLT. It was just 1 step forward, 1 step back, and then on my 1 step forward move, I just ended up calling it there. There's been a lot of days lately where I gave back so much profits. July has been one of my worst months of the year. As long as I don't do anything silly tomorrow, it's going to be a green month, but it just wasn't my best one. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of a rule edit with my max loss after this month. So stay tuned for the monthly recap. I think you guys are really going to like that. So yeah, let's hope we can clean up tomorrow and end the week green. Let's see, just zoom in here a little bit. We are in July, so hopefully we can have a green day tomorrow and then start getting a little bit more action in August because I am ready for more action. All right, guys, that's it for this recap video. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Like always, stay safe and make some awesome trades. Ciao, ciao.